Okay, so today's plan is as you can see, the introduction to Tailwind CSS. It's not exactly we'll not be seeing like a tutorial to building something. It'll be more of exploring the features of Tailwind itself, and we'll also see how to integrate Tailwind with Node.js and EJS projects, which is our current Markdown blog. To give a quick update about our hey Krishna,
Hi Kunal.
Uh, yeah, we just started Krishna. So I was just telling today we'll learn about like the Tailwind's features and how to integrate it with our project. Okay. Yeah, and update on the Markdown blog. So the for the backend, the basic user features are there: login, sign up, edit details, and all that. So we can implement those directly uh, in from the front end itself because they have been tested. Yeah. So let's just start. So I'll be using Code Sandbox over here. I hope you got it. It's basically like your in-browser editor. It comes the output on the right, your editor on the left, along with your terminal as well, and you can install dependencies directly in it, and it will show up in your package.json over here. So that's uh, you can join here too. Let me just share it. Pretty interesting. Just hop in, play around, play alone. Good. Okay, so let's just see what files I have over here, right? I'll close this off. I have a index.html, okay, which is connected to an uh, external style sheet over here in my source folder. I'm just not doing nothing but just setting the padding margin and the box size and border box, the default that we do in all projects. All right. Then over here I have this H1 tailwind and then two uh, yeah, Ashit,
Yeah, hi Kunal.
hi, you're also looking to learn Tailwind today?
Yeah. I just came to see what all you guys are doing here today and just join in the discussion.
Yes, yes, sure. So far we didn't start yet. I'm just, telling that we'll use Code Sandbox today and just showing like the basic what and all is there in it so far.
Yeah, sure. Continue.
Yes, sure. So there is a nav element in which I have my H1 and the unordered list for which goes to two links, Bootstrap card and Tailwind card. If you click on that, it will go over here, this page, which has nothing but again a H1 and a button which goes back to the home. It's the same thing for the Tailwind card also. Okay, so yeah, why not? Let's just get started. Okay, so what exactly is Tailwind? Like Tailwind, like any other, is like any other framework out there. You know, it's used to write your make help you write your CSS much faster and in a more developer friendly way. Dev- Here, developer friendly, can mean different things to different developers. All right. What's unique about Tailwind is that it comes with a utility first approach. Compared to Bootstrap, Bootstrap is a component based framework. Tailwind is a utility based framework, right? So what does that exactly mean? Let's just get Bootstrap and let's go to Tailwind as well. Okay, so if how many of you have used Bootstrap over here? Do you guys have any experience with Bootstrap before? Right, so you must be familiar with how it has, classes like card, accordion, uh, for a button it has .btn and all those, right? So it is more in Bootstrap. It is more of a component approach. So if I come on here, I'll just take this link tag. Yeah, notice that it provides you the style sheets with a link tag over here, Bootstrap. Okay, so let's just see two different approaches of how we would design a card in using Bootstrap and using Tailwind as well. Okay, so I'll come on here. So I mean, this is a Bootstrap card.html. I'll put the Bootstrap down here. Yeah, so the Bootstrap, the basic this one classes to get applied from over here. Okay, so let's just get started. Below this, if you wanted to create a card, we have drew dev.card. Okay, and inside a card, there will probably be like a dev class card body, and yeah, this whole thing should actually be wrapped inside a container. So we and probably in the card body, you'll have something like card title. Yeah, you can see the style being applied and the container also taking its width here. This card title will let us say it keeps going back to that page, and then you'll have something like div card text, I guess. So, that- see, this is basic approach of how you create a card in Bootstrap. I guess I did myself a few of the classes. I haven't used this in a while. No, so it's a card title, card text, right? So you could and even the buttons also, right? So if I come to this one, button class BTN primary. So this one takes like this. Cool. Let's put some margin top of say 4. Yeah, cool. So this is how we would create a card in our website using Bootstrap. So let's just replace this. Now the main problem comes, right? So what if I wanted this button over here to have a different color? In Bootstrap, if I go to the utilities and the colors, these are the only colors I'm limited to, given that I don't use its preprocessor directly. I can only use these set of colors like primary, secondary, success, danger, and all these. So I am limited by what the what Bootstrap offers me. Okay, so if I wanted to do that, I would probably have to come to my external style sheet. That is this one over here, right? And I have to do like dot suppose say the button instead of that color I wanted it to be like uh, background lime green just for cool. So I'll have to come to my external style sheet and do something like this, which defeats kind of the purpose of using a framework to begin with. You coming out and styling things like this, and even for each of its you know, pseudo classes, the hover, the border, I'd have to come and style it over here. So this is like one of the common problem with like a component based framework. It, but in a utility based framework like Tailwind, it gives you classes, which are more flexible, and it doesn't take a component based approach. Meaning, if I want to make a card, I'll have to use its utility classes by myself and implement it, right? So let's just see. So this is a Tailwind's documentation page, and you can see there's three options: CLI, PostCSS framework, and Play Syrian. So for now, we'll just come to Play Syrian and yeah, just copy this script tag, okay, and then come back here to my Tailwind card, right? So and I'll just put it over. I go to Tailwind card. See, even the H1 here, what Tailwind does is it kind of like sanitizes all the default stylings of the elements, and in this case, it even bought the H1 and the button to like the same text, because what Tailwind wants you to do is it wants you to enforce the text stylings individually for each element, right? So directly in the class itself. So yeah, let's just take a look at how it's done. Okay, so I wanted to create a card, right? So first, again, I'll tap this whole thing. Okay, okay, and class AMX or 2 and X. I think yeah. So I don't remember the classes. That is why this documentation exists to begin with, and the Tailwinds documentation is really a great one, right? So if I wanted to put like a uh, min width or something, I can just come over here and yeah, min width, cool. And you can see utilities for setting minimum width. It gives you the class and what property is actually being applied over there. In this case, I just want it to be a min width fit content, so I'll just copy this one. Okay, and yeah, so in my obviously my H1 should be a bit big, right? So I can use the text classes. So text to Excel. This sets the size for the card. Just a second. Yeah, so you can see the size has increased now. Just if I wanted to make it bold, I would just probably do something like uh, font bold probably. Yeah, cool. So this works as well. And coming to the main part, how would I make a card? Right? So div, inside this div, I'll probably have the H4, right? Tailwind. Uh, and under this, I'll have a paragraph tag. This is the tailwind. Uh, Okay, so now over here, class. Uh, if I want to put a width, and and I just go to the documentation width, right? So yeah, so again there are classes over here, and you can see it gives me properties and the class for that specific length. You can see all of it uses RAM. Even Bootstrap also uses RAM, which is really great. So uh, if you don't know the reason why it uses RAM, I'll show it to you in a second. It's pretty amazing why RAM is actually quite useful. So in this case, I just wanted to be say 20 RAM. I think that's around. mm, yeah, I think that's close to 200. Yeah, 200 pixels, I guess. Okay, so basically one RAM is I think 16 pixels. So that 16 into 20, yeah. So that will give you this one. So I'll just take with 80. Okay. And if I wanted to add a pattern, I'll just probably do something like BG, say blue. And if it won't work directly. I have to give like an intensity of blue. And for bootstrap, the intensity is somewhere from 58 is its least intensity, and from that point onwards, it takes the uh, intensity of the color from 100 multiples of 100. So 50 being the least, so I have BG blue 50, BG blue 100, 200, 300, 400, so on till 900. So suppose I'll just put 400, sorry, 500, come to the table card, and yeah, you can see it's applied over here. Cool. And yeah, this probably is having a issue with that. That's not worry about that much. Okay, so I have set this. I want the text to be center, so I'll just put like a text center class, right? Yeah, save it. So now it's here, and I want my heading to be big. So class text dash just LG. Okay, font semi bold, something like this. Cool. So it's all being applied over here. Even there's not enough spacing, so what I can do is, just remove this. I'll just put a big full over here, so we can directly put mix auto inside this one. So in my for my card, I want some padding between, so I can just do P dash 4. It's pretty similar to. There are many classes that are similar to what is there in Bootstrap as well. So if you're moving from Bootstrap to Tailwind, you won't find much difficulty, with the class names. Alright. So yeah, I have applied some padding, and yeah, what else can we? So yeah, this back to home button. So I can just put say class, and here uh, PG probably do again, but let's just go for 100. See how it is. Background blue. Okay, something like this. Let's put a margin top for margin top for. I'll explain like why. I mean, what all these values signify. They all take it with respect to RAM value. Okay, so and then some padding. So P1 should be enough. And yeah, finally, I want it to be like a rounded, some border radius. So I can just put rounded. Element. So you can see there's a small. I think this is 4 pixels. We'll take a look at how it comes. So you can see there's a small border radius, right? And yeah, so now I want it in the center. I have two approaches to this. So in this parent div, I can either put flex, or in this one itself, I can put like a MX auto. So let's just go the flex approach, right? So I just put flex. Uh, it will always put it all in one row, obviously, right? And then to bring it in a column, I just put flex dash call. So all are here, and justify center. Item center as well. In Bootstrap, it was a big class name, right? So it was like justify items dash center, align items. So it used the whole property name in Bootstrap itself. Cool. So this is how I created my Tailwind card. I know this looks like a lot of CSS classes to remember, uh, But the good thing being you don't have to. It's all in the documentation itself. You or need something, you just come over here and search it up. You will get answer for it. As you keep using it, this will all become second nature to you. All right. So I just wanted to show like how exactly you design the same thing in Bootstrap and the same thing using Tailwind as well. The great thing be you can think of this particular box over here, this card that we just created as a component, right? So if I just take this piece of code, let's just add some. Actually, so if I just take this piece of code, I can reuse this anywhere. So the same styles get applied over here. All right. So uh, I mean, it might seem self-defeating. Like, why do we have to put this many classes? Just to do this. Why can't I just do put put them in a particular style sheet and create a class? Yes, you can do that. That is completely alright. You can put in a separate texture and style sheet and do that as well. But the reason why you would want to use a framework like Tailwind, because it it's utility classes, right? So it gives you more flexibility in styling your elements directly from the HTML itself without you having to go to an external style sheet. Think of it in terms of increasing your developer productivity as well. Another reason being, uh, okay, this part we'll get to when we actually install it. Okay, so if you might have noticed, Tailwind uses a script tag. Bootstrap uses a link tag. Cool. Seems weird, right? My styles are being delivered in a script tag. What is actually happening? Let's just navigate to here. Open this. You can see it's basically like all the classes. There is some functions over here. Okay. Okay. So what is actually happening here, right? So in the newest version of Tailwind, that is Tailwind 3, it uses something called a JIT compiler or a just-in-time compiler, right? So what this one does is it goes into my HTML, sees this class, and then Wally brings this class, the styles of this class in my uh, whole file. So instead of getting those hundreds of thousands of classes that Tailwind offers, I'm getting only the classes that I actually use. I'm not getting anything extra. So this saves time for the load size and the loading time in the browsers. Whereas compared to Bootstrap, it's actually getting all of Bootstrap over here, all of its styles, everything in this one link tag. That's what link tags do, right? They bring everything from a particular source to your file document. Whereas this one, that's the reason it's being a script tag. It's probably having a function around here that checks your uh, HTML, sees what classes are there, brings styles only for those classes into your document, right? So that's a pretty cool thing that Tailwind does. It's done by something called a just-in-time compiler, right? So this is a part of Tailwind 3. So this was the main first thing I wanted to point out the difference between how we are bringing in Tailwind and bringing in Bootstrap as well. All right. Uh, yeah, and then I wanted to show you this one also, right? So why REMS, right? Why REMS? Okay. REM stands for root M. M. Basically, these are like font units, and root here specifies the root font size. Basically, the font size of your HTML. So if I come over here, by default, one rem is 16 pixels. So we see if I'm giving like P4, meaning padding 4. Let's see what is it actually doing over here. It's padding. It's a P, that's P0, PX0. Let's just go for P4. Or let's just start from P1. So P0 is obviously 0 padding. Cool. So then we have P1, that is 0.25 m. Then we have P2, that is zero point 0.5 m. Okay. Then, or as you might have guessed, P3 is 0.75 m, and P4 is finally 1 m. From this point forward, there is P5, P6, up to P10, I think. Oh yeah, P12. It's available from 0 to 12. Okay, and increments by 0.25 m. From that point forwards, it could become like a multiple of 2. So there'll be like 14, 16, 18. Uh, okay, there's no 18. Yeah, there's 20. So these are the classes that Tailwind offers. Okay, so I told you one rem is 16 pixels. So you can think of each increment of if I'm putting P1, so 0.25, 0.25 is nothing but one fourth. One fourth of 16 is 4 pixels, right? So each time I'm increasing this value P4 to uh, P5, P5 to P6, I'm essentially adding 4 pixels more in my style, in the padding for this specific uh, card, right? And yeah, so let me show you one more thing. If I come to my yeah, I had external style sheet here, right? So if I just come to my style sheet over here, I mentioned that the root rem is the font size taken from the root element. So you can either do a root like this, or you can even simply put your HTML tag over here, okay, and you can set font size 10 pixels. Right. Now you can see it all changed. All of it would have scaled down. If I put it back to 16, it will go back to how it was before, right? If I go back to 20, I mean, just put 20, it will become bigger. Good, right? So, in terms of responsiveness, REMs are usually the best approach, as you can directly, set the font size with your HTML, scaling it down. So instead of you having to make the whole thing smaller in a media query, you can just put a separate media query for phone, and just set the font size to 12 pixels or 14, just reducing its size instead of doing those complex reducing the width and all that. So yeah, so that's why REM is a popular approach. Right, so now coming to responsiveness, right? Suppose say it becomes, you can see it becomes like this, right? So I think this is the value. So I'll come to search responsive design in this one. So we have certain uh, utility variants. Okay, so these are called SM, MD, large, XL, and 2XL. So SM is basically 640, 748. You can think of this way. SM is anything below a tab or above. Okay, so these are for those. Uh, Medium is probably above the tab, uh, and our desktops and all that. So most of the time you will end up sticking with these two alone. And how do we actually apply this? Right? So I'll come back over here. Say in my tailwind itself. Right. So I'll just a quick example over here. So uh, I told you it's a utility variant. So variants, right? So you have to put that keyword. After that, you have to put a colon, and then you can put a styling. So here I'll just put PG green 500. Good. So if I yeah, what does this basically mean, right? So SM means small screen. Any style that is above the small screen should be applied over here. So meaning anything that is when the screen goes above 640 pixels, let the background become green. So let's just write it there. Can you see it? You can even put the medium also. So MD PG green. say dark green. Let's go. Okay. So this will go to green. This will go to red. So this is how you add, responsive units to your, uh, responsive design to your uh, elements using Tailwind. In Bootstrap, you'd probably use like a dash md dash, then the style p dash md, and then the value. Here it's more of it looks much cleaner, right? So it's like sm, and then you just use the same class. You don't have to remember another class just for that specific screen width. You're just saying, hey, after uh, s- this small screen breakpoint, let the background be green, and then after the medium, let it be red. As simple as that. Well, this is obviously not limited to this. You can make it complex. Uh, uh, Probably, for example, you would want to make this. By default, it will be like a row kind of layout. These three cards in your desktop. But when it comes to uh, mobile, you'd probably make it a flex call, something like that. So you could probably just come up here. Uh, I'll just bring this one up and that button down. Okay, this one, not just, let's not focus on that. So I just, what I did was I took out my this one so I can show you the flex example. And yeah, this one, extended. Okay, so as I told, suppose say in your desktop you wanted it to be a row layout, right? And Wally in your phone, you want it to be a column, right? So what I can do, yeah, flex call. So in by default in mobile it will be flex code, but anything above like mobile or anything about tab, I can put sm, right? Sm flex row. If I come here, there, see, pretty cool. So this is how you like add responsiveness using Tailwind's classes. These are called utility variants. All right, good. Yeah, so now like how we added you know colors to the background, you can also add colors to the text as well. So if I come to my table, so the first card say I want text white. Yes, cool. So it became text white. Same thing. I wanted this one to be text dash through this call. Text color, right? So there's lots of colors that Tailwind offers, right? So slate, gray, and each one has its own intensity, right? So yeah, let's just go with the orange. What's this? Text orange, and then set the intensity, say 600. Yeah, there. So yeah, if this you can add colors. Same time, you want suppose say I wanted a rounded a border radius for my first card. I just come over here. If you don't know what it is, you can just come to your documentation, search border radius. Right. So how do I give a border radius? Border rounded round. I have rounded SM, rounded MD. So first basic rounded, meaning 0.25 m, 1/4 of 16 pixels. So 4 pixels border radius. Right. So I can keep increasing my border radius as well. I can apply border radius to only specific sides on the like either the top or the top left or bottom right, something like that. For now, I just want to add like a say 8. eight, 8 pixels, right? So it's rounded LG. I'll put that here. Cool. So yeah, it is applied over here, and there is one more utility variant. So you know how we apply hover, right? Uh, you put your class colon hover, and then on hover it applies the style. Similarly, you can do something like hover. You put colon. So anything, any utility variant that should have a colon, and the colon followed by the style you want to apply in that specific state. So right. So in my hover state, uh, let's just make the BG blue. Or say let's just make it darker or lighter, for example. Cool. See, it's working just as I expected. Uh, that even I can also change the. Let's suppose say let's just make it slate 300 our text from green 500. Okay, so if you want to specify different properties, you have to use the hover variant every time. Right. So yeah, it is changing. Good. Any doubts so far? How are you finding Tailwind?
Interesting.
Right? Uh, good. Right. So next, yeah. So next, I want to show you like flex, but yeah, flex. We just did it right now using the flex call, and I justify center item centers. Oh yeah. So let's just take a look at the documentation anyway. So I can even apply the flex shorthand properties, that is grow and shrink of one. Okay. Then and yeah, this third one is the flex basis. It's like kind of like the width that you apply to flex items. Uh, right. So I think yeah, flex direction as I showed, flex row can put flex direction row, flex call, all pretty straightforward class names. If you understand the property, you won't have trouble remembering the the class name itself. All right. Okay, so flex is like a one dimensional layer. It's Let's just see how we can apply grid itself. Right. So I'll come here. I'll close this one up. I'll come to let's just reuse the card. That's the best thing. You can just copy one and use that. Copy just this one. Okay, so over here, what I can do, I just come to the flat layout. Over here, we'll have a grid layout. Plus, let's see how to apply grid. Right? Grid template columns. I can specify the number of columns I want, number of rows I want, uh, even the call span, row span, that those things. Right. So let's just try it out. So, suppose say, obviously, I have to specify first grid itself, like how I put flex. So I'll come over here. Just put 3, 4 it is. Okay, so I have 4 of these over here right now. Okay, so I'll apply grid. And not much difference, no issues. Suppose say I want like a 2 by 2 layout, right? So grid rows 2, grid calls 2. It is working, right? I mean, it's not shrinking fully because of I specified a width over here. Okay. Yeah, let's just see. Suppose say I wanted one of these cards to take up the whole width, right? So I'll come over here, comment this out. Whole span two. That's like house. I can whole span two, so it will take up the whole width. Come to tailwind card. Whole span two. Okay, go in the right one. Wait a second. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do get stuck right this reading. You can just check the documentation. Call span dash two. We'll probably take it to this one. Probably with yeah, that was the problem with it. So now you can see it's taking up two zones to play around our call span, bring it to one, equally one column space. Cool. That. So, yeah, so this is like a great layout. On top, it's the flex layout, right? Pretty awesome. Okay, so the main thing that I wanted to show today was three new features that Tailwind 3 bought. First one is called scroll snapping. It's a part of CSS already. It's just that its classes are new in Tailwind itself. Okay, and the second one is shadows. Third one is dynamic classes. So first, let's just take a look at scroll snapping. Scroll, okay. So yeah, scroll behavior, scroll padding. And this for now, I just take a yeah horizontal scroll snapping, right? So basically, what it does is whenever there's say a carousel, uh, suppose say I bring the carousel over here, okay, it will automatically go to the center. So this is what scroll snapping is. It will snap each item in that carousel to the center of that item only. It won't stop in between. It's pretty new. It's new in CSS 3, and we can easily implement it, right? So it's getting a bit crowded here, and I'm tired of going back. So I'll just put so below this. I will below my nav. I'll put a div class with full. Just a second. Yeah. Okay. So let's just try and implement this scroll snapping. Same with full, and I have div dot H 40, height 40, and say BG dash 2 dash 300. So this will give me that. I'll just copy paste it a few times. It's okay. Instead of blue, say I will have first one, let's say green, second one pink, in pink and orange. Right now, we want to make it a carousel, right? So I have to put like a flex if you bring it on one two, but it's shrinking it, right? So to avoid that, overflow X auto, but this won't do much because it is still shrinking. I don't want it to shrink, so I can do something. Let's just see. I'll go to documentation. Let's okay. Shrink zero. Right. So I'll just copy this. Shrink zero. Or was it shrink one? Let's just see. Zero. Yeah. There. Now I have this with my overflows there. It can be either scroll or auto. Depends because on the certain screen sizes maybe you don't want to show this scroll bar, so you can put it as auto, right? So now say I'll give it a gap, so gap say 4. So I have gap with each element. So now I say I want, when I come here I don't want to stop, I want it to snap to the center of that element, right? I can just come here, put first I have to specify it should be snapped in which direction, right? So I want it to be snapped in my x direction in my individual element. Right, I'll just come back here. Snap center. Now, if I come here, I'll stop it here. I'll release it. I'm not doing anything. I'm just releasing it, right? If you're in the sandbox, you can also just play around. You can see I'm just releasing it. It's automatically going towards the center. Good. So yeah, this was one new addition to Tailwind 3. Pretty awesome, right? So without you having to put that complex stylings in your style sheets, it's just two things: snap X and snap center. It can be snap left, snap right, anything for that element, right? So in this case, we just put a snap center. Okay, up next is something called it was pretty new, and this was the most awaited one, called shadows. Right, so I'll just put there w dash 40 dot mx auto, and then a padding the two shadow. Just a second. Yep. So I have a shadow, something like this. Obviously, there's no shadow as of now. PG, uh, blue, good, magenta, and yeah, suppose say this is a button, rounded, that's pretty straightforward. So yeah, I have a shadow. So how do I actually apply shadow? Let's I'll come to document. So shadow, not exactly drop shadow, looking for shadow there. Good. So yeah, I just have to apply shadow, and you can see it's already telling me zero, one. If you remember, these are basically like the x and y extension. So zero in the x, or the y should be in the, it should be like towards horizontally. There should be no shadow. Vertically, there should be one shadow of 1 pixel. It should have a blur of 3 pixels and no spread. And this is probably the light gray color one. Okay. So you can see shadow ND will be a small one. I'm not sure if you can see it. But if you go to Excel, you can see like it's extending down. Why? Because y the shadow towards the vertical side is 10 pixels in this case. So let's just use the shadow LG, I guess. So I'll just come over here, shadow. Okay. Can you see it? Yeah, I mean I can see it straightforward since yeah, that's good. So okay. It looks close to a button, right? And it has a shadow as well. Uh, but yeah, this is not the shadow color I'm looking for. I can just go back to document, box shadow color. So now, like how all the colors are there, this also has shadow gray, shadow orange with the intensity at the end, right? So that's a great thing. So you don't have to remember those separate ways. It's just a common thing. So shadow. Say I want blue again. Same 500. Right, so now my shadow, you can see it's the same color as this with little bit reduced, but I want it to be even more lighter. Like I want it to be say 50% more uh, lesser intensity as compared to this button, this color itself. I can just come back to here, the document opacity. Either I can set a opacity, or there's one more thing, one more option. I scroll down. That's good. Yeah. So you see this one. So if you put a slash and any number and a multiple of 10, this is basically like a percentage. So it takes in like how much percentage of this color should it actually be intense. So I'll come back here. I mentioned like 50, right? So I can just put 50. Yeah, it's reduced. So yeah, this was another cool feature that Tailwind 3 is offering. And the most amazing one yet is called dynamic classes. In Tailwind 2, and which Bootstrap also, you face like a common problem. You are limited by the colors that that particular framework offers, right? When Tailwind 3, you can do something like div, say say W40, same thing, MX auto P2, PG, green, time, 4, it can be like a touching and so now dynamic classes, right? So suppose say I don't want this shade of green. We come back again. In case of Bootstrap, we had to go to a separate external style sheet and do it. In case of Tailwind, it has this one. So suppose say PG, I'll put a dash and I put my square brackets. Inside my square brackets, I can specify my color. So suppose I wanted the background to be like minus is 00, it's like this green. And maybe let's just play around with it. Yeah. So I am specifying it over here, right? This can even be, I think, text, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So given that you give a valid this one, it will return back that particular. So this is like a really cool feature where you don't have to go to your external style sheet. You can just add any color you want within the square brackets. They like how I added here right now, and it will apply it over here, right? And this is just the beginning, right? So I have one more option. Open square brackets. Within this, I can specify a property. Background, let's say blue. Yeah. As so this is like a really amazing feature that Tailwind 3 got over here. Yeah. I mean, these were the main features of Tailwind, obviously. there is so much more to explore, so much more that Tailwind offers itself. I recommend that you guys, just start out building stuff with Tailwind. Don't worry about remembering all these classes. You can always come back to the documentation, right? So let's move on to the next one now. Any doubts so far? How are you guys finding Tailwind, especially those last three features?
Yeah, it's good. We did not use any other external style
Yeah.
sheets.
So it's like you completely drop the need of an external style sheet itself, right? Uh, but now let me show you a problem that we face. Yeah, easier than normal CSS. You
Yeah,
can
but
just directly.
the main thing, like why we always use the external sheet style sheet is to always reduce the complexity, right?
Yeah, I mean it does keep your code organized.
Yeah, code clean.
Yeah,
So yeah, obviously Tailwind makes our code much simpler, but I feel making something very small, we can use Tailwind, but making the, for suppose the project like MKT blocks, uh, don't you think it will make the code more complex and
yeah,
like
that's a completely valid argument. That is why different developer perspective comes, right? Some people prefer to use a framework
yeah,
because it's easier.
obviously, obviously, it differs from person to person. But what are we doing for this MKT blocks? Like, are we using Tailwind CSS?
Yeah, we'll use Tailwind CSS, and to simplify it, I'll give you two different approaches that you can choose from, right? So first one, obviously you can come here and write all of these. Second one, I'm getting into right now, how we'll actually implement it separately. Okay, so before I get to that, uh, I just want to tell you one thing. So this script tag, right, every time you reload, what it's doing is looking for your classes and then getting it from that JIT compiler and then placing it in your file, right? So this is a bit time consuming in itself for your, suppose if it's a really large website. Uh, so it's recommended that you don't use this for production environment. All right. So to avoid using this in production environment, I'll come here. Uh, I'll scroll to top. Installation. We'll be using something called Tailwind CLI. Mike, I'll get back to yours in just a second. It's a part of like why
Sure,
we have
sure, sure. We can have this conversation later as well. No problem. You can go
yeah,
on.
right. So we'll be using something called a Tailwind CLI, right? So what it's basically doing is in your command line itself, it will take an input file, okay, that will have these three things, okay, and it will output it to an output CSS which will be connected to your this one. So what is the aim of this, right? So what it's basically doing is whatever classes are available inside your HTML, it will read those, meaning this is probably, you can think of this as your input, okay, and it will save it in a output.css. So this approach is like use what you need only. So and it will keep only the classes what you need. So in your dev production environment, you will not be having the script tag. The script tag will not be there. You will be having an style sheet, something like this, and these styles will only contain the styles of these alone in this case. So you just have to put the classes here, use the Tailwind CLI, and it will automatically put it in that this one. So let's just see how to use it, right? So come over here. You need to install Tailwind CSS. Cool. Uh, Either you can this in this is no command line, right? So uh, I'll just you can add dependencies over here. So I'll just type tail. Okay, I can. They told we have to run a Tailwind since there's no command line in this particular sandbox. I'll just come over here. Tailwind. I think Tailwind. Yeah, tailwind.config.js. .config.js, and I just copy paste these things. Good. Right. So let's just break it down. Right. So whenever you're going to run your tailwind over here, and yeah, I just realized that we can't run it over here because there is no this one. I mean, I'll just explain it quickly. Right. So whenever you're going to run your tailwind, uh, you don't need .src. So so what this basically means within my the same directory and all its subdirectories, whatever for all HTML and JavaScript files, if there's any change in those, look into that and convert them into output them as a CSS. I mean, here is not shown. See, so yeah, that's where we'll move on to the next part of this. Yeah, so in integrating Tailwind in Node.js and EJS environment, right? Okay, so I'll share this as well, so you can join. Okay, so it's just a simple server over here. Uh, right, so there's Express, there's my port from my configuration file. I'm initializing the Express application using EJS for doing my templates, and uh, and I'm serving the static files with Express or static. There's some error use. Until then, for the slashed out, I'm just doing the res.render index. So it's that my views file over here. And finally, I'm listening to the port that is in my config file. Let's just restart this because it crashed. I mean, we just have to wait for it. Till then, in here I have a terminal option. So this is my terminal. I can come here, open on its own. Right now, it's just starting the server. Okay, so and this server basically you can yeah, until this starts you can't do anything. I'm not sure why it is crashing so much. Delete its code. Okay. Style. If it crashes now, I'll just show it locally. That would be better. Good. I'll just move on to local one. Just a second. Tailwind. Good. So I just created a folder called Tailwind for now. I will just a second. Yeah. So it's implement dash y. Cool. So we can actually use those to index dot. Let's just create a HRC. I'll have my index. Instead of creating the server all over again, I'll just, since now we have the option to use a terminal, right? So index.html, and yeah, so I'll just come to the basic template, okay? And it mentioned that to npm I dash t tailwind css, install tailwind for this project. So instead of me using like a external that script tag, right? The play cdn for tailwind css, I'm installing the CLI, right? So now what I can do next is npx tailwind. I'm just following the documentation straightforward. Tailwind css init npx tailwind. Okay, what was that? Right. So for you to use Tailwind CSS, you need two other libraries called yeah. So for you to use Tailwind CSS, you need two other libraries called Post CSS, Post CSS, and Auto Prefixer. These two libraries. So what is Post CSS, right? Post CSS basically helps clean your code. So suppose say there are in your output file there are some unused classes. It just removes those classes from that. Auto prefixer writes your HTML in such a way, sorry, it outputs your CSS in such a way that it has a cross browser compatibility. So you just come here, npmi dash d post CSS auto prefixer. These are like two other additional things that make your output CSS file more uh, clean your output file and allow cross browser compatibility as well. Meaning, it takes in, like, suppose say there is the margin scroll thumb, right? So this scroll thumb, suppose you're doing for Chrome, the same thing might not work in Internet Explorer or Firefox, right? You have to put like a dash mz dash scroll thumb, right? So for that thing, auto prefixer takes care of it. It takes the styles, includes that style, and also includes the cross browser compatible styles as well. Okay, so now this should run npx. That's good. Created tailwind config.js. I'll come here, right? In this, I'll say content. So content specifies where should it look for changes, right? So dot dash src, all the subdirectories within my source folder, and all dot html files. So I'll come here. Cool. So this is my index.html. Okay. So if I just do some this div dot xp, and say I have my text to Excel, and then right now it won't work. Makes sense, right? Because I haven't yet configured it. So if I go back to the documentation, okay, so I need to create like a separate main CSS file kind of thing. So I'll just come over here. I'll just create a tailwind.css. This can be anything. I'm just for simplicity's putting this. I'll take these, paste it here, and start the CLI build process. So if I come to my package.json, and over here, I will just come over here. Just put build something in my build. This one. For the build, I'll even put like a tailwind script. Okay, in the tailwind, I'll just do npx tailwind. I'm just seeing what not to do, right? So dash I, meaning the input is should be any src. I mean the input CSS file, right? So dot slash tailwind dot CSS. Output it to say src dot slash src slash output dot css, something like this, and dash dash watch. I'll just copy paste this same thing over here. So npm run tailwind, right? So yeah, so it's running this rebuilding done in this much time. I'll open here. You can see. So this tailwind CSS has this. It created output.css. Now output.css contains not all the basic. You know, uh, I told you right. So tailwind sanitizes your all your basic stylings to certain preferences, like how we saw the font, right? So all the H1, H2, all fonts became became like a same type, right? So if I just do H1, we see block code, TL, H1, all have will have that changed their stylings, right? So yeah, font size, font weight, inherit meaning probably in the H1 HTML. Yeah, so it's all being changed over here. Good. So one thing to note: this is not all of your Tailwind styles. This is just setting those default values for your Tailwind. So now let's just see. And I put a watch flag, right? So if I come to my index.html, okay, and here's, and I'll show it here as well so you can see. Okay. And oh yeah, I have to link it. So link, it's my output. Okay. So now, suppose say I have text dash. Wait, let's just see it over. First, I'll come to my output.css. I'll search text dash green 900. It's nowhere here, right? Zero results, right? So I'll come back to my index.html. Text green 900. Okay, so it's changed over here. I'm not sure how visible it is, but I'll come to my output.css. See, now it's showing question of one. So where is it? There, it's applied to the end. And if I come back here, if I remove this, give it some time. Be pro because it's selected. I don't think post CSS is working here. Makes sense because we haven't. I told you that post CSS takes care of removing all these unnecessary classes. So to do that, we have to do a in npx tailwind css init dash p. So this will remain the same. It will create this one for me. So uh, this what it does is it cleans my HTML as well. So I mean my output.css. So hopefully it works now. Let's take a look. Cool. Yeah, you see, it's not there anymore. That is what post CSS is for. So I remove that class, right? So I have no use of it in my output.css. So you can think of it this way: instead of me using that whole script tag and importing all those styles, which is technically not happening, but it takes time if you have a large document because Tailwind has to search through all those classes, right? I'm just having the classes that I actually need in one single file, which is attached to my index.html. Does it make sense? Any doubts about why we are, installing these dependencies, Tailwind CSS, post CSS, and auto prefixer? Any doubts so far about these, like using it, using Tailwind for your production websites? If you wanted to like install these two at the same time, you just had to run. Yeah, cool. Right. So install if you wanted to install your Tailwind config and post CSS config, you just run this command over here. That will install these two at the same time. You have to set your this one. Okay. Okay. So now one of the most coolest features of Tailwind, I'll finish this and then we can wrap it up. Right, is dark mode. So I'll come over here and come on the top. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the top. So dark mode class, and I'll come to my in. For this, I will need a JavaScript, I think. So yeah, sure. Script. Yes. Let's link it in the body. Script. So dark mode, right? Suppose say uh, in my this one, I will have uh, BG dash white, not white, uh, slate dash 900, and the text will be white. So it will be something like this over here, right? And let's just make this everything. Oh, you see how all these options are coming, right? For this, you can just use an extension called. Second. Yeah, there's an extension called. I'm not wrong. Tailwind. Tailwind. Yeah, Tailwind CSS Intelligence. I will share the link to this in the Notion page, right? So you can use this. It gives you like the all the classes in the as you're typing it out. Okay. So yeah, it's oh, this is like a dark mode thing, right? Suppose say I want to switch it, no. So I'll add like a button in theme, and obviously it's we put the ID in button, spell it, say PG dash open. Okay. So this and adding to adding y1 ex2. I'm going to styling item and an arm. And for this one, I just put text editor. So I'm just showing what you can do with tail and over here, right? So just put margin top 4, save it. So when this button is clicked, I want this whole page to become white and this one to become uh, say black, right? So I'll just come over here, the container, this, and then I'll come to my this const container ID container const button theme button. Okay. And button dot on click. I'll just add in this button. Continue. Classes dot toggle dark. Or I actually click that and show you. I'll show you the difference of how it's actually working. Okay, so I in okay, so let this be dark mode features. Dark. So I'm again using the Tailwind variant kind of thing. So anything with the colon is like a utility variant. So this is my default theme, right? Okay. When it's dark, I want to say so what basically dark is if I put like a dark over here, save it. I think it should be on the parent. Yeah, so it should be on the parent, my bad. So basically, if the parent has a dark uh, class, then everything with this variant will get applied. If it doesn't have this, if I remove it, it will not apply these styles over here, right? So if I come back here, what I'm doing is yeah. So if I click on this, you can see it's just toggling. So it's just going to my body tag, adding a class dark. If it's there, remove it. If it's not there, add it. That's what the toggle does. So yeah, you can easily add dark mode features using Tailwind as well. Yes, this is also like a pretty cool feature Tailwind offers. Make sure, and this will only work if you've done the Tailwind config dark mode class over here. It has other options called media, meaning if the users, this one is theme is dark, it will take that. If it's light, it will take that theme. Instead of no, there'll be no toggling. Uh, yeah, and I wanted to show this also, right? Mayuk, you mentioned some people might not prefer, writing their classes like this. It makes it a bit tough to read, right? Tailwind offers something. If you combine Tailwind with a preprocessor like SAS, which we are doing, I'll just give you an example. So dev.hero text is hero text something, right? I'll come here. It'll probably be right. So that's not an issue. So in my tailwind.css, I can just do a dot hero text add apply text color sorry text. This goes purple. It's text purple 400. So this should work if this is running. My output.css. Oh, here, there it is. Can you see it? So, Mike, there's like two ways of writing Tailwind. You can still use add your classes like this, and you can still make use of full use of the Tailwind classes by simply doing like a add apply. I can even put like text 2 3 XL maybe. Right, so it becomes big. It applies the font, and so it at the same time using this way the add apply rule. Uh, what is actually happening is tailwind is the tailwind CLI is coming here. It's obviously applying the base styling, and then after that it's seeing this class dot hero text and applying these tailwind classes to this hero class, meaning whatever class is there inside of properties are there instead of this class will get applied to this one. So in my output.css, you can see it. It's over here. So yeah, it's. I mean, you could use this way also. If it's a small project, you don't have to worry about it. If it's a large project, you can keep like a common class like this, and with that class, you can go into your tailwind.css. Note that it won't work in your output. Tailwind.css, and you can use the at apply rule. So yeah, this was the final one I wanted to mention, right? So what you can basically do is a dot card, uh, or maybe like a dot button, dot button on something at apply text in 100 pg dash 200 padding to margin 1 text center text blue. So you can have like a class like this, and we see if I come to my output input index.html, div.ptn that's com. Yeah, so it is here. I mean, obviously to add some this is a button component. So yeah, it is all applied here. So you get to make uh, you best use of both worlds, you know. So you can keep your HTML organized like this, and at the same time, you can even make use of the Tailwind classes as well. So, I mean, all in all, Tailwind, in my opinion, is like a very different type of framework, and you know, if you get a hang of it, it's going to be really fun using it in your projects. Any doubts? I mean, I'll share this one also, so you can take a look at how the configuration file is all set up. Any doubts, anyone? That's it. Was it clear? Like, I mean, did I clear the, I mean, that question about that organizing the files, that code cleanliness?
Yeah.
All right. Uh, yeah. All right, that's great. Good. Uh, yeah, I mean, so we discussed, right? So I was thinking for our Markdown blog project, right? Let's not waste much time, you know, in actually wireframing and all that. We'll use Medium itself as a reference, right? So, uh, who wants to like volunteer? You know, we have to create 4 pages, uh, right? So there is okay, it's not basically there are 4 pages that we need to create. So with you can create it easily using this. I'm not like you don't have to fork the repository. You can just use the play cd and also, but you know you if you can use the tailwind CLI and get a practice, that would be good as well. So we need to come up with a landing page, uh, homepage that will showcase all the articles. So they'll be like show all articles. The landing page will have like the sign in. Yeah, we'll use Medium GUI, the same one. Because I mean, taking our own takes a bit of time. Uh, so I mean, we got to finish this project also, right? And then, or do you have something else in mind? This specified pages. So yeah, medium. That's right. Okay, homepage, and then you have your user profile. They can see their details. Don't worry about editing. They have to just see their details. Uh, and finally, like a 404 page. So, who wants to like take up which page? Which one do you think you want to work on? Photo, photo. All right, cool. I mean, as just try implementing it with. All right. So, which one do you want to try? Landing page. All right. Okay. Mayo can work on landing page. The home page might be a bit complicated, so I can recommend like two of you do it together because there will be like those small. You have to show it something like this as well. So two of you can work on this together. The home page. Uh, who, uh, Chandana, Surya, do you want to work on it together? Like both of you, you can split the work for the home page alone. And Krishna, do you want to do the user profile page? See if I come here, go click on this uh, stats. I'm not sure what it was. Yeah, so something like this, right? So home about the user and all that, right? So you can work on this one.
Yeah, okay.
Uh, yeah, I mean you can. Yeah, that's great, Krishna. Uh, yeah, you can just come up with the uh, you know a basic one. You can use the play CDN also for this one, uh, and we can always refactor it later as well.
Yeah, fine, okay.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, try building this with Tailwind, and make it challenging. Don't use an external style sheet. Try and implement whatever you can with Tailwind itself.
Hmm. Hmm, okay.
All right, guys. Yeah, yeah. So that was it for today.